Hello, welcome to our third UBS pre-concert talk for the Bangor Symphony Orchestra's 129th season. My name is Renia Shterenberg. I am the Executive Director of the BSO. Thank you so much for joining us today. I would like to thank our sponsors for this season's pre-concert talk series for making it possible to bring us this talk to you today, UBS Argosy Wealth Management. I would also like to thank our guest artist sponsor, Birchbrook, our concert sponsor, the Margaret E. Burnham Charitable Trust, and our season sponsors, Karen Foxwell, Laura Kimball, and Quirk Subaru. We hope you will join us for our concert on January 26th. For more information, visit us at bangorsymphony.org or call the box office at 207-581-1755. Today, I'm co-hosting with our music director, Lucas Richman. And we are delighted to have, oh, sorry, Lucas. Yeah, you want to say hi?
Hello. Hi.
And we're delighted to have our guest artist, Martha Mooke, join us as well. Hi, Martha.
Hi, nice to be here.
We're so glad to have you. The three of us will be talking to you today about the pieces on our upcoming program, January 26th, which includes works written by Ravel, Ibert, Mozart, and Martha herself. So this is so great. Let's go ahead and dive right in. How are you doing today, Martha?
Great. It's a beautiful winter day in New Jersey.
It's a beautiful winter day in Maine, too.
Yeah, we just had snow and with the sun's out, and we're excited about having you come and join us for some great music making here in Bangor.
I'm excited to get back to Maine, one of my favorite states to spend time in.
And we are certainly keeping you very busy while you're here.
Love it. Absolutely.
We'll talk about all those activities, but the focal point is our concert, and you and I have been talking for quite a while about bringing your piece "Invisible Hands" to Bangor, and finally we have the opportunity to do that. So first, let's talk about you, because that's why you're here. I when I read about you and read your resume and everything, I mean, we've known each other for over a decade, but I'm just always astounded by the things that you do and have accomplished, and the diversity of your musical expertise and the variety of worlds in which you work and inhabit.
Thank you. Yeah.
And you just received a Grammy Award just the last year for this wonderful album, So She Howls. And you worked with Laurie Anderson, Barbara Streisand, Andrea Bocelli, Peter Gabriel, David Bowie, and Philip Glass. Oh, my goodness, my goodness. And right in the middle of that list is the Star Wars in Concert Tour, and that's where we first met.
Yes.
In 2010.
It was a historic tour.
I think we have a picture of
We do. There it is.
Oh, there you are. Principal viola on stage with Anthony Daniels, or the C3PO, and there's Martha.
Yeah,
with my hair.
We had a great time. We had a great time.
That was an awesome tour. Yeah.
It was 11 weeks with an 82-piece touring orchestra, doing the music of John Williams from the first 6 films, because at that time the other 3 had not yet come out.
That's right.
But it was extraordinary, and I remember every night beginning the Duel of the Fates. It was like the violas are okay. Here we go. So it's a little faster than that.
Yes, I know that. I remember that.
So I'd always look down and look at it with you with a grin. Here we go. Here we go.
There we go.
So you have played obviously in orchestras and a lot of chamber music and a lot in the classical realm. How did you get started with electric viola?
Good question. Actually, it's a good story and one of my favorite ones to tell. When I was in high school, I was an unassuming, classically trained viola player playing Mozart string quartets and Beethoven symphonies. And a friend of mine very innocently gave me an album to listen to, and it was an album by Jean-Luc Ponty called A Taste for Passion. And it's on the covers, Jean-Luc Ponty with a beard, and he's looking very cool, and he's got a beautiful blue violin that he's playing. So I took it home and I played it. And I would say, if we had emojis back in those days, this is like the mid 80s, I would be the emoji with the brain exploding, because that was a real revelatory moment for me. I never knew that string players could play like that, could improvise like that, could play with electronics, because he was using all of that and still does, and is really such a figure for anybody in the string world that's really expanding their universe in any direction. So I keep his picture behind me. There we go, Jean-Luc
Oh yeah,
Ponty.
Yeah.
For inspiration, and he follows my career as well. And in fact, when he heard one of my albums, No Ordinary Window, he asked me what kind of technology I was using, because we like to, we're geeks, we talk tech. When I told him it was the Eventide H9, the next thing I know, he's got one on his board and he's using.
amazing.
So, yeah.
Wow. What that must make you feel like that he was the original inspiration for you, and here you are able to impart something to him to enhance what it is that he does.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
It's pretty cool. I've had a few of those really incredible moments in my career, including with Laurie Anderson, that I, been working with her doing duo projects, and just was featured on her new album, Amelia. And she was also, like Jean-Luc, she was one of the pioneers in exploratory string playing and performance art, and was just such a role model for me in going in other directions with my musical explorations.
I have to think that uh, classically trained musicians are so focused on what's on the page, and when you're doing the work that you do, you have to allow yourself to just uh, uh, assume that there are no walls, there are no barriers, and how do you approach that? How do you deal with that? How do you um, uh, because we like to put things in neat little boxes, but what you do doesn't fit in neat little boxes.
Nope. And it never has. So that's why I've learned along the way, and I mean, it's taken me a few decades to figure out that if it doesn't exist, I just need to create it. I need to create, there used to be Tower Records, the record store, and you'd go into Tower Records and everything would be in a nice bin, and it would say exactly what the genre was. It was jazz, it was classical, it was new age. And I'm like, I fit in all of them and none of them. You really have to, listen to my work. And that's how I actually sold records at Tower Records. I brought my CD and Harmonic Vision into the manager, and I said, I don't know where this could go because it really defies categorization. And he listened to it and he's like, I like it, bring 5 copies in and I'll take them on consignment. And he put them in the listening station right next to Philip Glass and the Kronos Quartet. And it's sold out. He called me the next week. He said, bring 5 more copies.
Amazing.
So that kind of proves my point, but it it didn't help like in promotional aspects. It's like, because you need to experience the sound, and how can you describe that? So, and I still have some of the original, I think they sold like 20 or 30 and then finally got me on board with their distributor. But I still have some of the original, a couple of the CDs that have the Tower record sales ticket on it.
So what makes an electric viola an electric viola?
So, acoustic, when you go to an orchestra, like you will see at the Bangor Symphony Orchestra, you will see people playing violins and violas and cellos and basses, and they are acoustic instruments. So an electric instrument, there's different methods of making it electric or amplifying it. And the easiest way is just to stick a microphone in front of it, or you can put a pickup on it like I do on my acoustic viola, and can play acoustic, you can play any style of music, just amplified, and it comes directly out of the pickup. And then there's like electric guitar is to acoustic guitar, so is an electric viola to an acoustic viola.
Wow. So it has the shape, it has the fingerboard, but it is, you don't
Right.
need the body of the acoustic viola to create the sound. It's all about what's inside.
Right. So, and the pickup system is internal. It's in the bridge here. I plug in my cable, and you'll see that when I play with you in a few weeks, I won't be physically connected because I use a wireless pickup system.
Uh-huh.
And that allows me the freedom, if I want to move around in the orchestra or in the audience or in a classroom or in a planetarium, I have the freedom to do so. Like a wireless microphone.
Right. And there are how many strings? Normally a viola has 4.
So my specialty has been the 5-string electric viola,
Mm-hmm.
which is also 5-string violin and 5-string electric viola are essentially the same instruments. They can share the same repertoire. So as a 5-string violist, I can play violin repertoire on my instrument, and a 5-string violinist could play viola repertoire on their instrument.
And you can do quintuple stops in a way that no one else can.
That's right. The only catch is what clef do you use when you notate it. So, for viola, it's not a problem, but for violin, they need to brush up on their alto clef.
So you're getting that the higher string is added, the E string, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you have the 4 strings for us music, like violin.
So it's a viola with a high E string, or it's a violin with a low C string.
A low C string. And then since you've got the instrument up, I'm a former violinist, acoustic, and I was always told that little appendage that looks like the beginning of the body is really only there for the player. It's not really necessary, except that you need it to play. Can you explain what that is and what it does?
Right. That's a guide. That's a hand guide when you're shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's lots of different styles of electric violins and violas, and they all have different physical properties as well. Mm-hmm. Some of them don't even have peg boxes. You tune them from the bottom. Wow. But that's what it's a guide for knowing where you are in the realm of the fingerboard.
And you had a hand in, so to speak, in the creation of this.
Yes, I had an invisible hand. No. So I've been a Yamaha artist for well over 25 years. In fact, their first electric string artist. And it was one of those things where I was just starting in the field, and coincidentally met with with a representative from the emerging markets field of Yamaha. And we had a conversation, and he said, "Can I send you our prototype of our new silent violin?" And they did, and I'm like, well, this is really cool. But the idea was to play it silently. You could connect your headphones directly into the violin
And practice.
and practice. This was a practice instrument. And I said, well, this is really cool, but I want to play it out and I want to play it loud. So I started working with them on things that they needed to change. I guess that they didn't think it was going to catch on as popularly as it did. So so I went over to Japan and I worked with their design team on a couple of different models, and I'm still to this day very, very much involved with Yamaha. They're very, very supportive of the different workshops and educational programs that I do, as well as all their artists. So it's been a wonderful collaboration all these years. And
can you tell me about the educational aspect of what you do? You teach in I'm sorry, remind me of the college?
New Jersey City University.
Right. And you have like a program that you've developed specific to your craft, right?
Yes. So over the years, I have been doing workshops and creating educational programs that have to do with incorporating electric strings and pedals like an electric guitarist would include, improvisation, and putting that all together into and not having to call it one particular style or anything, classical, jazz, pop, rock, whatever. Again, going back to the Tower Records thing. So I came up with a term called multi-style, because that sort of, I think, it encaptures what I do. In the string world, it's been called alternative or eclectic or progressive, but I coming to terms with being a performer and a composer, an improviser and producer. I like the term multi-style. And so, and all through college and grad school, I have a master's degree in viola performance, in classical performance. But when I started plugging in and experimenting with improvisation and electronics and doing different styles and playing with hip hop and beatboxers and whatever style it was, realizing that I was developing a way of becoming almost a chameleon, to be able to play in recording sessions or on the stage. To the point where there was one year doing the Tibet House benefit concerts, I walked into the rehearsal and Philip Glass said to me, I'm going to play my Etude number 10 and I'd like you and the Scorchio Quartet just to improvise with me. And I'm like, great. Wow. And we had an amazing time right on the stage of Carnegie Hall. No rehearsal.
Wow.
Just doing it. And now, I go back to the joke, how do you get a classical musician to stop playing? Tell them to improvise.
No doubt.
So that is an inhibition that is one of the things that I teach about overcoming and how to overcome it.
Oh, that's great.
And I learned the hard way by making lots of mistakes and sounding crazy and being okay with that, and realizing that wasn't making mistakes necessarily, or we had talked about perceived failure of not playing the right thing, but I began to embrace them as opportunities and challenges, and to see, I would play something, maybe I was in the middle of a concert and something crazy, I stepped on the wrong pedal or something happened. I said to myself, well, that's an opportunity I wasn't considering. Let's see where that goes.
That's like in improv theater, when you're doing it, and and somebody says something that's completely out of left field, you say, yes, and. So that becomes a yes and moment, not a no. You never say no. You
Mhm.
just, it becomes a positive. What can I make up out of this?
Yeah. And that is another skill that I've developed over these years, kind of on my own, but that I incorporated into the curriculum. So when about 5 years ago, I was asked to grow the string program at New Jersey City University. And, you know, pretty much every college and conservatory have classical string programs. And I thought this could be a good opportunity to delve further and develop a program that I always wished that I had been able to take advantage of when I was going to school. And so I wrote up a proposal and gave it to the chair of the department, and it's called Multi-Style Strings. And little did I know I would need to create a degree program to go along with that, because the only performance degrees were either classical or jazz.
Right.
Wow.
So I think the world is starting very slowly to evolve, but the only way that I could do what I wanted, or what I planned to do, was to create a multi-style string program, a degree program. So I did. And boy, that was a learning curve. We have a Master of Music and a Bachelor of Arts in multi-style string performance.
That's extraordinary, Martha.
That is extraordinary.
And so unique, I imagine, in the entire country, if
Yeah.
not world.
Yeah, in fact, I do believe it's the first of its kind.
Wow.
And I mean, over the years, it's modeled from some other existing programs, certainly Berklee College of Music and some other, universities and conservatories, but nothing that is from a public university. It's not a private university that costs, your whole
More. Yeah.
life savings to get into. So there is that. There is the actual demographics and geographic location. We're right across the river from New York City. And so we have access to all the, top cultural resources that New York City has to offer in New Jersey City. And when I started the program, I thought it was actually coincided with the first year of COVID. So we were pretty much in lockdown. But I called a few friends of mine, including Regina Carter and Jeremy Kittle, Dave Egger, Joe Denenzone. I said, I'm starting this program. Would you be interested in participating in some point? And they all said, yes, we need something like that in the string world. I think in the general music world, but certainly in the string world, that is more where we're at. We're in the 21st century, and I am firmly in the belief that if Mozart, had been around today, he would be playing and plugging in and improvising and jamming and playing hip hop too. So that's all in the program. And I say yes a lot. My students blow my mind because they're coming up with amazing ideas. I have a lab that's full of electronic gear and instruments and different kind of lighting. So the vibe is very important. I hope you kind of notice having my twinkle lights and my lava lamp and things that inspire me in different ways. So I like to encourage them to go into the lab and turn out the fluorescent lights and sit on the floor and experiment and sound crazy, make crazy sounds, make mistakes, do things, and follow in that direction and see what you can come up with. And so that's another big part of the program, is for the students to also not just be able to play different styles, but also to access their inner voice, their creative voice that they may not have known that they had access to.
They must love you as a guide to who pulls them out of the fear and enables them to just to make mistakes and without judgment. Must be extraordinary for them. Because it applies to not just music but their whole life.
Exactly.
So you are coming to Bangor to play Invisible Hands, among other things. Could you tell us what is Invisible Hands about, and about the interaction between you and the orchestra, and what the orchestra will be doing, and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So there's a Star Wars connection in Invisible Hands. That's one of the Invisible Hands. It was originally commissioned by Dirk Brosset, who was also a music director of the Star Wars in Concert tour, and he was the music director of the Chamber Orchestra of Philadelphia, and commissioned a piece from me that also included improvisation. They were focusing on improvisation in their series, and I'm very much a concept composer, I suppose. And I was thinking where to go with knowing what it's like to be in an orchestra as a viola player, to be part of the section and to be in the inside, but also to be from the outside as an electric player. Where do I go? Where do I take this? And I've been a fan of Joseph Campbell and Bill Moyer's series on PBS called The Power of Myth, and that's stayed with me the whole time. And the concept of it, Joseph Campbell talking about that being helped by hidden hands, because he talks about mythology and inner guidance, and it all weaves together. And so Bill Moyers, during the interview, asked him, do you ever have the sense of being helped by hidden hands? And Joseph Campbell, I'm going to read the quote. He said, all the time, it's miraculous. I even have a superstition that has grown on me as a result of invisible hands coming all the time. Namely, that if you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that's been there all the while, waiting for you. And the life that you ought to be living is the one you are living. And when you see that, you begin to meet people who are in your field of bliss, and they open doors to you. And he says, follow your bliss and don't be afraid. The doors will open where you don't know they were going to be.
Wow. Beautiful.
And that had such a profound effect on me. So that became the title of the piece. And then the piece kind of grew around what are invisible hands. And I like to think that as the audience will also experience invisible hands in the concert experience. I like to call it a concert experience because it's much more than just listening with your ears.
Absolutely.
It's feeling the energy in the room. It's sitting next to people that maybe you don't know. It's what you had for lunch. So every time you go into the concert hall, you're going to have a different kind of experience, even if you're hearing the same piece of music.
But then because of the improvisational elements, it's never the same exact piece of music. Right.
So the parts for the orchestra are, for the most part, written out. They have those little black dots to follow. There's a score. I have a part, and I'm going to tell you up front that there's a lot of little notes written in there, but there's also a lot of improvisation. And I'm just going to tell you, in our first rehearsal, Lucas, don't pay attention to what I'm playing. I'm going to go with what the orchestra is playing, and we're going to become an organic machine. Because there'll be things that'll happen in the space that maybe didn't even happen during the sound check or the rehearsals because there's an audience in the room. And that's what makes the live performance so exciting. I can't tell you. I know basically the idea of what I'm going to be playing. I know what the orchestra is going to be playing. There may be expanded times with the improv sections. I'm bringing my rig of electronics. I've got foot pedals, a digital effects processor, a looping pedal, and other expression pedals. And there, you'll hear the sound of the viola just take up a space in the room and fill up a dimension that, in combination, it's one thing when a solo viola is playing, but it sounds like there's a whole ensemble, but in combination with the orchestra. And I've put the orchestra to do some things outside of their, hopefully, comfort zones, with different kind of techniques, air kind of techniques, and the string players are playing percussive techniques with both their left hand and the bow, and so the whole experience, it should be where you don't know where one instrument stops and another takes over or exists at the same time.
I want to suggest something that perhaps people discount the viola. There's a series of viola jokes and things, but the viola actually, because of its registration, it fits exactly in the core of where people's voices are and where they resonate as people. So you in fact, with the warmth of the viola and the energy that you imbue into the music and everything, you're hitting us right at our core in that range, which is so extraordinary.
Yeah, and equally important that the audience understand and feel that there is an interconnection, that they're as much a part of the performance as I am or as the orchestra is. There's also that there's a communication going on with me and the orchestra and with you as the conductor. And that is also something that's a little bit different in the realm of classical music. And I mean, certainly there are soloists that they perform with the orchestra. But I try to go in another step, again, expanding the dimensionality and adding texture and another level of conversation between the orchestra. And again, this is something we'll work on, because there are elements within the orchestra with the musicians in the orchestra are also improvising, whether they're doing things to build in through the texture, or a rhythmic background, or interacting with me in a solo passage, just like jazz musicians would. Call and response.
Amazing. And I'm so delighted that people will have a chance to hear you in performance with the Bangor Symphony playing Invisible Hands, but also to get to know you in advance of our performance, specifically at the planetarium at the Versant Astronomy Center on the campus of the University of Maine. That's on Friday, the 24th, I believe, at noon. And what a great space to be able to play in the planetarium.
I am so excited. And, you to ask me to besides playing with the orchestra, to also play in the planetarium, where I have the oh look, surrounded by vibe and stars and ambience. I'm so excited to see what happens out of that too. And I also, as an improviser, like to create something within the space, for the space itself, for the moment. So we'll see what I can come up with and share and offer to the audience members.
And I know that our students are also going to be extraordinarily uh, influenced and appreciative of what you bring to them with the Bangor Symphony Youth Orchestra the night before. I mean, your guidance as an educator and as an artistic inspiration is going to be invaluable to them.
I'm really looking forward to working with them and then exploding some of their young minds, expanding, exploding, defying.
Yeah,
Oh,
you'll be
Martha,
busy when
so
you're
grateful
here.
to you, and looking forward to this collaboration. It's going to be great fun, I'm looking forward to not knowing what's going to happen.
That is a great place to be. Um, and I think we'll see. We will only see it
Yeah.
when it happens and hear it when it happens. So I'm looking forward to the snow and having a hot time in Bangor, Maine.
There we go. There we go.
So great.
Thank you for joining us, Martha.
Thank you,
We'll see
Martha.
you
Thank you.
soon.
My pleasure. I'll see you soon.
See you
Okay.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, exciting stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be wonderful.
Oh.
She's a delight, and I mean, there's so many aspects of what it is that she does that are like, she taps into so many realms of music and emotional expression and the spiritual and all that. So it's
Oh, it's going to be fabulous. It's got, the program has other things on it too, though. So I want to
oh yeah, that's true.
let's jump back into our slideshow here.
So when just so everybody knows, when Martha agreed to do this, that her piece obviously became the focal point for the selection of the music, and her piece is orchestrated for essentially chamber orchestra and viola. So I thought we should do a program that has a smaller size orchestra. One of the pieces I've wanted to do with the Bangor Symphony is the Maurice Ravel Le Tombeau du Couperin. People know Ravel for his bolero, certainly Daphnis and Chloe, the Tzigan for violin and orchestra. There's the Tombeau, La Valse. A piece that we've done here was the introduction in Allegro for harp, flute, clarinet, string quartet. His string quartet also, and he wrote 2 piano concerti. We've done the one in concerto in G, but also the piece concerto he wrote for the left hand, a piano soloist. The music of Le Tombeau de Couperin was influenced by the music of Couperin and the French keyboard, Baroque French keyboard style. Originally, as you see there, he had written it in 6 movements, and it's not so much that it is in all about Couperin, but it actually became each of the movements was dedicated to friends that he had lost in World War I. Ravel was actually an ambulance driver during the war, and he took it very hard what had happened during the war, and expressed it through his music. He ultimately orchestrated 4 of those movements: the prelude, Ferlin, Rigodon, and the minuet. And that's what we have today. And the music is it's very expressive and beautiful and notable. The first movement, especially, is like it's on every single oboe audition.
Oh, right.
Because it is it's a treacherous but extraordinary
showcase the instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're right, it is World War I. I'm noticing here in my little PowerPoint, I inadvertently put World War II, which did not happen in 1917. So should be World War I. Sorry about that.
World War I.
And I also want to say, when I was doing my research around this, I saw the original version in 6 movements, which I knew and had studied in college. but my heart sank because in our program we only have 4 movements, and I was like, oh no, did we leave out 2 of the movements?
All right,
But then
something's wrong.
as I continued to do my research, I was like, oh no, okay, so the orchestration is only 4 of those 6. So,
Right.
I mean, that was
And
my
the he had actually written a kind of an arrangement of a Couperin Forlan, but this is not the same one. This is not taking melodic material from Couperin. It's just more in the style.
Okay.
And so it's a wonderful piece that is, and interestingly, he was very immersed in the music of Puccini, and his orchestration acknowledges the economy of sound that Puccini would use in his operas, and you can hear that it's not. Ravel was not about having all the instruments play at the same time. It's even his largest orchestral works are like chamber music, and that's one of the things I just love. It gives everybody a chance to do something absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So
no, that's gonna be great. I love that piece. I just love
yeah.
it.
And then we open up the after so Martha's piece will be the conclusion for the first half, and then we begin our second half with music of Jacques Ibert, another French composer. And in this case, so the idea if Ravel was tipping his hat to Couperin, maybe another homage, and here's the homage à Mozart of Ibert. Probably best known for the flute concerto, but so much wonderful music. In this case, with the homage à Mozart, it's again not that he takes a melody of Mozart specifically, but he is using the neoclassic style, kind of in the vein of Prokofiev's classical symphony and Respighi's music, ancient airs and dances. And it just captures the lightness of Mozart in a neoclassic style. And as you see, it was 1955, so this is really after much of the neoclassic movement. But Ibert was writing in this because of the fact that Mozart's bicentennial was about to be was coming up.
And it's not a long piece, right? Just a few minutes
it's
long.
about 5-6 minutes long.
Yeah, 5 minutes long.
And that's a perfect little prelude to the Jupiter Symphony of Mozart, Mozart's last symphony. He wrote 41 symphonies, and the last 3 symphonies he wrote in a period of 9 weeks, as really? 39, 40, and 41. And just to think that, I mean, if you listen to the Jupiter Symphony itself, it's like this would take 5 years to write, and he wrote it in a period of weeks. Yeah. It's extraordinary, and when you start analyzing it and realize what went into it, you can go back to what Mozart is known for. Certainly, is the Requiem. If people know, I mean, if you haven't watched the movie, I always come back to this Amadeus.
Yeah.
It really gives a wonderful taste of the music, Mozart's music, and the passion. Not necessarily historically correct, but it's a great piece of theater. And in it, you hear excerpts of the Requiem, of course, the Dies Irae and the Lacrimosa. I mean, just amazing things. So again, 41 symphonies, 27 piano concerti. He was a masterful pianist himself and a violinist. 5 violin concerti, piano sonatas, lots of chamber music. My favorites, kind of like my go-to, are Mozart piano trios. That's kind of puts me in my happy place to listen to Mozart piano trios. And of course, his operas, numerous operas, including Don Giovanni, Marriage of Figaro, and The Magic Flute. And I think that his involvement in vocal music certainly informed his instrumental writing, because you have such lyricism in his in not just the slow movements, but in all of it, everything it's very vocal and expressive and dramatic. The funny thing is, people expect classical music is very square but Mozart, if you start looking at his music, it's actually not just 2-bar and 4-bar phrases, but he throws in 5-bar phrases and 7-bar phrases and things that are not what you would expect, but he makes them sound so natural because they are part of the dramatic expression. We don't say sentences in just regular form, and we don't express ourselves in just boxes, and that's how his music comes off. So in the last symphony, the Jupiter Symphony, which, by the way, was not, he did not call it the Jupiter Symphony. That was an appellation that came after he passed. That just the idea that it conjured up the heavens and that sort of thing. The piece itself is in the standard movement format, but what he does with this is just extraordinary. His sense of humor in the allegretto, the minuet. There's a hidden joke in there, which
are you going to share it with us?
Well, it's kind of nerdy.
I love nerdy musical jokes.
Let me see if I can find where this specific thing. So I'll just read this. A descending line with a related chromatic curve takes its place at the top of the texture, and then it becomes this kind of serpentine canon for the winds. But the trio plays a joke on the listeners, having the end of the phrase precede its beginning. That is to say, the opening notes of each phrase sound like the concluding cadence, while the notes that follow sound like they are revving up for that conclusion, whereas they themselves end up being the end. So it's like
I mean, that he thought of that and could make it work musically.
Exactly. I mean, this is the guy that wrote the
tabletop music.
Tabletop music, where
I love it. Yep.
Where you're looking at both ends. Somebody's playing that side, looking this way, and you're looking that way, and it's the same music, but it all
reading
works.
It like this.
Exactly. Yep.
So cool.
And that's how the last movement is. It starts off with this melody of 4 notes, bum 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 bum, and then so the brilliance of Mozart is that he has 5 melodies that all come together on top of each other in this last movement. It is the most brilliant use of counterpoint, example of counterpoint in symphonic form ever. I've wanted to do this work with the orchestra for quite a while, so I'm really thrilled that we're going to have a chance.
It's hard to play Mozart well, you know.
It is. It is. People think, oh, it's easy. It's Mozart. No.
The opposite of easy. Yeah.
Exactly. And because in order to make it sound effortless, it actually takes a lot of work.
Yes. No, our orchestra is going to be great at it. I'm really looking forward to hearing this concert. So, well, thank you, Lucas. Thanks for taking us through all of that. I would like to add that Martha is, as you heard earlier in our discussion, she's going to be doing even more while she's here other than this concert. We do have this concert as a digital release. You can purchase tickets for just $10 by visiting our website for tickets. She will also be working with our Bangor Symphony Youth Orchestras in the evening on Thursday and performing at the Lunch and Learn. That is at the Versant Power Astronomy Center located on the University of Maine campus. It's at 12 noon on Friday, the 24th. If you would like to attend, we are also doing a lunch after, and tickets for the Lunch and Learn are $25 and can be purchased through our website as well. We also broadcast our concerts after they have been recorded, and this one will be broadcast on Maine Public Classical on February 19th at 8 p.m. So mark your calendars. You can hear it there. I would like to thank you all so much for joining us for this pre-concert talk sponsored by UBS Argosy Wealth Management. And if you want more information about this concert on Sunday, January 26th, which happens at 3 p.m. at the Collins Center, you can visit our website at bangorsymphony.org. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been an amazing talk with Martha and with you, Lucas. I love this idea that you have of connecting composers, connecting to each other. It's such a wonderful world that we live in artistically, and it's nice to be able to put things together that maybe we hadn't thought of before. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Renia.
This is so great. Thanks, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you at the concert.
Take care, everyone.